So guys, we're getting some new video out of Israel showing a significant Hezbollah attack on northern Israel on the screen. These are fairly extraordinary. Of course, it's pretty rare to get any sort of video out of Israel because they have severe censorship. And you can see the significance of this attack. I mean, some of these are being intercepted and some of them are clearly striking targets in the area. You know, this after the idea that had been projected, and I think that the Israelis maybe even believed that Hezbollah had been severely degraded after their top leadership had been taken out after the infamous beeper attack, and yet are able to fully join this war in a way that is, you know, fairly sophisticated. And at the same time, it appears that the Iron Dome is failing to intercept a sizable number of the missiles at this point that are being fired towards Israel. We can put this next. This is pretty extraordinary. This reporter says that the Iron Dome could not stop about half of the 100 rockets that Hezbollah launched at Israel just a few hours ago. We can also put E3 up on the screen. Haaretz has some reporting about the quote-unquote hole in Israel's early warning system, and its missile defense batteries are at risk as well. And so basically what this article lays out is that when you have these missile defense systems, they also have to be protected. And so that has created tremendous vulnerability. And obviously, Sagar, it has been a strategy of Iran to target these defense systems, and they've been pretty effective, at least at our batteries in the region, in, you know, effectuating that target. That's why we had to pull the THAAD battery system from South Korea and bring it over, because some of the damage that had been incurred. And so their strategy was to take out those capabilities or degrade those capabilities early, and then that would enable them to be able to strike stronger blows using, you know, fewer rockets, missiles, and drones, etc. And based on what we can see in terms of the degrading capability of the rocket interception here from the Iron Dome, that strategy seems to be working fairly successfully.
Let's put E4 just to give you an example. This is from the Jerusalem Post. So again, everything we're showing you is from Israel. After 11 days of fighting, Israel has received 9,000 missile damage claims, 6,500 buildings, 1,044 contents and equipment, 1,485 vehicles. So that is just the private claims now so far. That does not factor in the Hezbollah attack happened yesterday. Keep in mind also that this now means an opening of the front with Lebanon. Let's put E5 up there on a little bit over it. These are some of the strikes that were happening all across Lebanon in immediate retaliation. Immediate reports out of Israel, at least some, said that only about 50% or so of those rockets were even intercepted by the Iron Dome. Combine that with what Crystal just talked about in terms of the holes in the targeting system. So they are now being struck in a coordinated attack by Hezbollah and by Iran. Also, clearly, Hezbollah has much more strength than they let on. Remember the pager attack and the war and often bombing that they had launched. Now, what this shows is not only their strength, but the retaliation that Israel is now going for. And already they're basically doing the Israeli playbook, floating ethnic cleansing. It's right there on the, it's on the books.
Yeah, let's put E6 up on the screen. This is Amit Segal, a regime propagandist in Israel, closely tied to the government. And what he is saying is, quote, what needs to be done in Lebanon is very simple. Advance to Litani River and announce we will not leave until Hezbollah is disarmed. But this time, unlike the old security zone, not a single resident returns, aka ethnic cleansing. And at the same time, a severe and devastating strike on Dahia. So this is the, you know, what is being floated. Very much, you know, part of the greater Israel project. This would be, you know, accomplishing some of their additional goals. I think Sagar made the point earlier, part of why we're getting that video out of Israel's being allowed out of the rocket attacks from Hezbollah is to try to justify exactly this type of military incursion and take over. And ultimately, you know, what's being floated here is an ethnic cleansing, removing all of the existing residents and not allowing them to return and de facto taking over more territory in the region. That is what they're trying to use this war as cover to do. So, you know, they're taking damage, but they're also using the opportunity in an attempt to further some of their greater regional goals.
Yeah, exactly. And you actually literally, as we were taping, I can read the latest Amit Segal and the IDF. The IDF spokesperson has now directed all residents of southern Lebanon to move beyond a border checkpoint, which is a river inside southern Lebanon. So with the population, it's probably a lot, right? And basically a evacuation order, aka a Gaza level 1. And as he floated there, we're going to tell him to leave and that you're never going to come back until we dismantle all of Hezbollah. And actually that's basically an impossible task. And so that will mean that we'll just get to take over and annex, de facto annex, in another part of another country. And this is all happening under our auspices. It also shows you, this is something Professor Pape talked about their actual security interests. Now they're fighting a war with Iran. Now they're fighting a war with Hezbollah. They're fighting a war, or they technically have annexed like parts of Syria. They're literally on a 7-front war. What is the 8th front? It's the United States, the propaganda war against people like us. You are watching them expand in territory at this very moment. But also, they can't do any of this without the explicit backing of the United States. And you already see holes in their military interceptors. And the longer this goes on, leads you to what Professor Pape talked about, the escalation trap. And what they may not have interceptors, but what do they have? Nuclear weapons. They have ground forces, which can invade Lebanon. They can pressure the United States to continue going and, all in with our entire military. That's the really scary part about watching this happen.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely the case. And I mean, with regard to Israel, right, the whole raison d'etre is to be a safe haven for Jews.
Yeah.
How safe is this haven right now? I mean, Shail has been talking about how many people in Israel have been leaving the country, have been, their level of out-migration is really significant because, you want to be in a bomb shelter every other month. You're having to huddle with your family in a bomb shelter and have sirens go off in Tel Aviv and worry about your apartment building being struck or your car being destroyed or God forbid you losing your life or your children being threatened, etc. So of course, a lot of normal people who are not down with the hardcore religious end times and the Greater Israel Project and the whole bit, they're going to say, okay, we're out of here. We're going to go to greener pastures. So I think that is absolutely the case. But I also want to be really clear. The population of Israel is fully on board with this war. I mean, I said the polling here is, overwhelming opposition. In Israel, it's like 87% that are absolutely in favor of this war with Iran. Netanyahu is not an outlier. His government is not an outlier. They are representative of the wishes of the people of Israel. So, so this is the direction they're going to continue to push in. And I think it, once again demonstrates the divergence between the global goods or even the U.S. good and what the Israelis want, yet they seem to be very effective at getting their way.
Yep. So don't let this go unnoticed. We got a full-blown, possible ethnic cleansing watch right here happening again now in Lebanon. It's going to be crazy. It's going to tie them down. It's going to escalate stuff for us. They're going to lean even more heavily on us to give them more types of weapons or who knows, and unleash what else, potentially on Iran as some sort of retaliation. Really pay close attention.
And Hezbollah is surprisingly fierce.
Yeah,
I think for everybody. I did not know that they continued to maintain this level of capacity, and so yet another factor that was not anticipated. Because when you have Iran and Hezbollah striking inside Israel at the same time, that is going to overwhelm their defensive
because the narrative was, we already dealt with Hezbollah with the Patriot attack. We're finished. We're over. It's done. And so we're not doing that. We're just fighting with Iran. Oh, oops. All of a sudden, 100 rockets come over and you're like, okay, this is not good. And turns out not nearly as depleted as we thought. I also think Hezbollah is not stupid. They knew they were under immense pressure from the Lebanese government to not do anything like this. But for them, they're like, look, if Iran gets wiped out, then we're going to get wiped out one way or the other. We're going to lose our benefactor or they're going to come and they're going to get us next. So it's existential. We got to fight to the death. So we have multiple people now fighting to the death on this front. And don't underestimate them. Look at what they did in Syria. Real battle-tested force. A lot of them are willing to die. So just another front that's opened here in the war. Okay, let's get to